What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today a deal was made. You may have already heard of this, but a deal was made today. Now, a deal wasn't made on the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. A deal wasn't made on the $3.5 trillion infrastructure package. A deal wasn't even made on the debt ceiling or the government funding bill. A deal was made on the framework, just the framework of how the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill is going to be paid for. That's the deal. That is it. And even so, even though this deal was made, many officials, many senior officials still have no idea what this framework even consists of or how this bill is even going to be paid for. And one of the reasons why is because they haven't even settled on how much this bill is even going to cost. But that is how disorganized Democrats are at this point. Again, this is all Democrats. This isn't Republicans. Republicans, they have their own issues. Democrats, the problem there is they're so disorganized right now. And it's because they have so much power. But here's what we know. Right now, there's so many people disagreeing with where this bill stands, where it should pass. Should it be $3.5 trillion? Should it be closer to $6 trillion? Or should it be like President Biden proposed when he brought up the framework at $1.7 trillion? Well, here's what we know. When the talks of the social infrastructure bill were first introduced and they were brought to us by President Biden himself, at that time he was proposing a $1.7 trillion infrastructure package. And in that package, nobody knew what was going to be in it. Nobody had any idea. But Democrats said that this bill would be transformative and bold. Their exact words. Now, this bill is at $3.5 trillion. $3.5 trillion in social spending, in stimulus. They're saying this is still not enough to pass everything that they want. At $3.5 trillion, that's more than double what President Biden proposed in his framework. And multiple Democrats are saying that this is too much, that it is not what they originally signed up for and had agreed upon. But the discussions lately have been to see what exactly will be in this package. That's what they want to see. And so the framework for how this bill is going to be paid, that essentially, according to reports, they have the deal there. Some are saying that right now, if there is not an overwhelming amount of assistance to the American people, then we can't afford to pass it. Okay. Well, then that brings up the question, what kind of assistance? Is that stimulus checks? Is it more rental assistance? Because I sure hope not, because rental assistance is so slow. Is it more nutrition assistance? Because on October 1st, we're supposed to see SNAP benefits increase by 25%. That will be good. But what other assistance is there? Social Security going to get a boost? Probably not. Right? Are seniors going to get additional help? Maybe, but again, probably not. Where is this assistance coming from? The goal right now, according to multiple reports, is to get more people on board with the Democrats' agenda. That's the goal. Right now, reports indicate that the reason for Democrats trying to give more assistance to the American people is because they need something to campaign on before the midterm elections of 2022. So again, it goes back to the elections, getting the votes, getting the American people behind them and their agenda. Now again, Republicans tried to do this. Former President Donald Trump tried to give seniors a card, like a voucher, to pay for prescription medication. And that got blown up. That wasn't legal. He couldn't do that right before the election because they were saying he was trying to buy votes. Well, I think every single politician is trying to buy votes. That's kind of what we're seeing every single time. But that's what's happening right now. Now, we have not heard anything as to seeing another stimulus check in this upcoming package. There's nothing there yet. Some argue that a stimulus check is still needed. Some lawmakers say that they don't know if there will be funding for it. So they don't want to propose something just for them to be laughed at because there's no funding for it. Makes sense. But if it's something that is important, it's a priority, I think we can find the funding, right? We gave, 500 million, I think it was 500 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine or one of the vaccines to other countries, right? I think it was 500 million doses. Now, or maybe it's 5 million, whatever it was, right? It costs billions of dollars. I think it was like $10 billion for those doses to go to other countries because taxpayers have to pay that. And so that was a priority for the White House and the Biden administration, is to give these doses to other countries. And that's great. That's fine. Let's get rid of this pandemic. But at the same time, it's the American people that have to foot that bill. That's causing a big issue because the American people are saying, well, why do we keep on giving assistance to other countries, but yet here, stuck at home, we are struggling because we don't have any money? Additional stimulus check would greatly help that. But the discussions there have been absent for a little while. But while the arguments continue over what the American people get, what's going to be in this bill, how are we even going to fund it, there is something that Democrats are planning to do to help out the American people. Democrats plan to create a major stimulus for Americans, and simply by providing them with not a stimulus check, but something that would help them every single month. Here's what Democrats plan on doing. And this is something that's headed by Senator Bernie Sanders. He's been fighting for this for a while. He is trying to reduce the cost of prescription drugs. That's his goal. And according to reports, this is going to save about $600 billion. It's a lot of money. Now, I asked a few people in the comments, it's probably last week, how much they spend each month on medications. Well, 3 people gave me fairly clear numbers. One person said that her and her husband spend about $560 per month. Another person says she is 56 years old, spends roughly $600 per month. And one person says he needs insulin, and he spends roughly $730 per month on just insulin alone. Now, being inflation is causing everything to go up. This is not an expense the American people can no longer afford. We are struggling. When you look at inflation, if you look at I think we're like 3.7% based off the numbers, but again, they pull numbers and they pretty much fix it, to make it seem like we're not seeing much inflation, when technically we're seeing inflation by like 7 to 9%. So what I can tell you right now is the cost of prescription medications, if we see these keep going up, if we see other costs go up, the American people have to decide, do I ration my medications? Do I ration my insulin? Do I not provide food for my family for, certain meals? The American people have to decide that. And that's not something Senator Bernie Sanders says is something he's willing to allow to happen. So Bernie Sanders says lowering the cost of prescription medications will be in the bill. So this will be a form of stimulus for the American people as long as you have prescription medications. For me personally, or for my family, I guess as a whole, we do not spend any money. And it's not because we have health insurance that covers it. We have health insurance. But we do not go and get any prescription medication. We just don't need it. We're fairly healthy. So that's good for us. But again, I'm only 34 years old. For these people, one who's 57 years old, spending $600 a month, depending on what you make, that could be a big chunk of your income. So let me ask you, how much per month do you spend in medications? How much? I'm curious. Because these 3 people, $560 per month, $600 per month, and $730 per month just on insulin. Now, I don't know how many vials he needs, but my guess is probably 2 to 3 is my guess. I don't know. Now, one thing that is taking priority right now over the stimulus package, providing more assistance to the American people, is the government funding bill and the debt ceiling increase. What I can tell you right now is today, Nancy Pelosi said that Congress wouldn't let the government shut down. She was adamant about this. There's no way the government is going to shut down. And that they will do everything they can to make sure that they do their jobs to keep everything running. Here's an issue if the government shuts down. Let me just break this down for you for a second. If the government shuts down, we could see parts of the CDC actually be sent home. They wouldn't be working, right? Health organizations, they would be sent home. We wouldn't see them working, okay? Just to give you an idea, when former President Donald Trump, he held out and he wanted to see government funding, but for the border wall. He was, I don't know if it was him, I can't remember, or if it was just the White House in general, but National Guards were being told to hold yard sales. We saw that it didn't actually, he didn't actually fold until we saw air traffic controllers. Okay, they were pretty much being overworked, and yet they were not being paid. They would be paid at some point, and this holdout lasted for 35 days. But what we saw is flights were either delayed or canceled, right? Airlines were really struggling, and that was what turned former President Donald Trump into saying, okay, let's just accept this deal. Because Democrats were holding out then. Republicans are holding out now. So we're going to see what happens. But according to reports, the only guaranteed way as of right now to pass the government funding bill is to delink the government funding bill with the debt ceiling suspension. And if this happens, Mitch McConnell has said that Republicans would support government funding. They'd support a continuing resolution or a stopgap bill. They'd support this. Now, if they do, this would include things like tens of billions of dollars for emergency disaster relief. It would provide about $6.3 billion for Afghan refugees. And it would fund the government until December 3rd of 2021. Hopefully between now and December 3rd, we'd see a deal done where they would be funded for the entire year. That's normally how it works. That's about how it worked last year. But we will see if that actually happens. Now, even though Nancy Pelosi says a deal will be struck, the White House Budget Office, they notified federal agencies today to begin preparations in the event of a possible shutdown. Now, you're probably going to see this all over the news that the White House, notified agencies to prepare for this. But here's what you need to understand. And according to the White House Budget Office, they say that this is normal. When we are 1 week out of a possible shutdown, we send out a notice to agencies to make sure they are prepared. That's it. So, according to them, there's nothing to really be worried about, that this is par for the course. And according to CNN, the Senate, they will vote to continue the government funding and suspending the debt ceiling. They will do this on Monday. This will be the Senate. It's already passed through the House. It passed, I think it was 220 to 211. Pretty much on a party line vote. Now, this is not expected to pass in the Senate, but I want to explain why they are doing this. According to reports, and based off just knowledge of how the Senate works and how Congress works, the reason why Democrats are going to try to do this is because they want to get Republicans on record saying voting against the bill that is going to allow the government to be funded and raise the debt ceiling, or actually suspend the debt ceiling. They want Republicans on record. And the reason why they do this, and we've seen Republicans do the exact same thing in the past, the reason why they do this is because this is a way that Democrats can pretty much get some leverage back. They can now use this, and when they go and campaign this upcoming year for the midterm elections, they can be like, well, we tried to make sure the government was funded, and you guys said no. Every single Republican voted no. So not only did you not want the government to be funded, you also wanted to make sure the government, defaulted on their debts for the first time in history. That's the narrative here. Okay? So this is the card that Democrats are going to play in order to give themselves something to run on next year. Again, we've seen it from both parties. We're going to see, I guarantee you we're going to see it. Now, whether the government ultimately gets funded or not, whether we see the debt ceiling get increased or suspended, we don't know. But what I can tell you is this is how Democrats plan to get some form of leverage back. And Republicans know this, because Republicans have played this same card multiple times before. So we're going to see what happens there. But when asked if Democrats would accept GOP demands to pull out the suspension of the debt ceiling, well, Senator Dick Durbin said, we'll see. That's all he said. We'll see. What I can tell you is, yes, Democrats they want Republicans to go on record voting against the government funding bill and the debt ceiling suspension. That's what they want. They want to do that first. I guarantee you that's going to happen. Republicans are going to shut it down, and then all over the media is going to be, and I might come on here and tell you the same thing, Republicans blocked the bill. Yes, they blocked the bill, but that's something that we knew was going to happen. So, again, we're 4 days out from that happening. This is going to happen on Monday. But as we know more information, I promise I will bring you that new information. What I can tell you, though, right now is it's pretty much just a game. It's not a game of checkers anymore. This is a game of chess. We're going to see how Democrats play this. We're going to see how Republicans play this. It's going to come up to the last minute vote. I guarantee it. So we will see what happens. But again, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all the latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.